Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is lecture number 10. Let's start. So first we take a review of previous lecture. In last lecture we discussed measures of central tendency and we discussed the median and how to find median for the grouped data. And we also discussed the merits and demerits of using median as a measure of central tendency. Then we discussed another measure of central tendency, which is mode. So we discussed how to find mode for the ungrouped data as well as for the grouped data. And then we discussed its merits and demerits as well. And then we discussed geometric mean, which is also a measure of central tendency, and we discussed how we can calculate geometric mean for the ungrouped data. So let us discuss the objectives of current lecture. In today's lecture we will continue our discussion of measures of central tendency, and we will discuss how to calculate geometric mean for the grouped data, and we will also discuss what are the merits and demerits of using geometric mean as a measure of central tendency. Then we will discuss harmonic mean, which is also a measure of central tendency. We will discuss how to calculate harmonic mean for the ungrouped data and for the grouped data. And then we will also discuss what are the merits and demerits of using harmonic mean as a measure of central tendency. So let's start. So first we take a review of finding geometric mean for the ungrouped data, which we discussed in our previous lecture. So general formula for finding geometric mean for the ungrouped data is, geometric mean is usually denoted by x bar g, where g means geometric mean, and suppose we have n observations x1, x2 and so on xn. So in order to find the geometric mean of these n observations, just multiply these n observations x1 cross x2 cross so on xn. So then take the nth root. So this is just like the same as finding the product of these n numbers x1, x2 and so on xn, and then taking the power to be 1 over n. So this nth root is actually the power of this product taken to be 1 over n. So again we discussed last time that when we have large number of observations, so suppose we want to find the geometric mean of hundreds of numbers, so then this process is quite difficult, and finding the 100th root is quite difficult, and we can even use calculator or Microsoft Excel to do this. But there is an alternative version, alternative formula is available for finding geometric mean. So geometric mean is nt log of 1 over n into summation log of xi, where I ranges from 1 to n. So last time we derived this second formula from this first formula. So now we can use either this formula, the formula given at the top, and this second alternative formula as well. So whether you use the first formula or its alternative version, the results will be same. So suppose we want to find the geometric mean of 3 numbers. So suppose first number is 3, second number is 4 and third number is 5. So in order to calculate geometric mean, so just take the product of these 3 numbers and take their cube root. So this is our geometric mean. So this is 3 into 4, 3 4 the 12. So 3 4 12, 12 into 5 60. So it means cube root of 60, or in other words we can write 60 raised to power 1 by 3. We can simplify this expression with the help of calculator or using Microsoft Excel, or we can even do it using simple mathematics rules. Here you can leave this result as it is. So this is our final result, or even you can use calculator or Microsoft Excel to get one simple number, numerical answer. So in order to use this formula, so just label one column as X containing these three numbers, so 3, 4 and 5, and in this column take log of X. Why? Because here we need log of X. So just calculate log of 3 using calculator or using Microsoft Excel, and log of 4 and log of 5. Then suppose we have certain numbers, then add all these numbers to get summation log of X. So once you get this summation log X, so divide it by 3 and then take the anti-log. So you will get the geometric mean. So this is how to calculate geometric mean for the ungrouped data. So in order to simplify this formula to get this alternative form, which is in logarithmic form, we can take logarithm on both sides. So taking log on both sides of these equations, so log of x bar g, so log of left hand side and then log of right hand side. So on right hand side we have x1 raised to power f1 into x2 raised to power f2 and so on. Last one is xn raised to power fn, and then we have to take the nth root. So now we have to use rules of logarithm to simplify the expression on the right hand side. So in first step we can write this nth root as power 1 over n. So log as it is. So instead of writing this nth root, I am just replacing it with 1 over n. If we have square root, we write it as 1 by 2. If we have cube root, we write it as 1 by 3. So similarly, in this case, we have nth root. So this will be this product raised to power 1 over n. And then here we have this product x1 raised to power f1 into x2 raised to power f2 and so on. Last is xn raised to power fn. Now I'm just writing here some rules of logarithm. So log of a raised to power n is equal to, here we can see that a is base, n is its power. So we can take this exponent or power outside the log. So log of a. So if any number has certain power n, so this power n can be taken outside the log. So n log a. So according to this rule, this power is 1 over n, so we can write it as 1 over n at the start and then log of this same expression. So rest of the expressions will be as it is. So xn fn. So in next step we have to use one more rule, that is log of product of two numbers. We have two numbers a and b, and we are interested in finding the log of this product a b. So according to rule of logarithm, we can write it as log of first number, and then we put plus sign, and then log of second number. So in case of multiplication, we write log of first number plus log of second number. But here, if we have the division sign instead of this multiplication sign, then we write it as log a minus log b. So in case of multiplication, the rule is that it is log of first number plus log of second number. But if we have the division sign here, then log of plus sign plus log of first number a minus log of second number. So as far as our expression here is concerned, we can see that all these terms are being multiplied. x1 raised to power f1, this is being multiplied with x2 raised to power f2, and so on. Last expression is xn raised to power fn. So using this rule, so log of product of numbers is log of individual numbers, and both terms are being summed or added together. So here, in order to further simplify this expression, write this 1 over n as it is, and now take log of each term x1 power f1, and then use the plus sign, and then log of x2 raised to power f2, and so on, and last term is log of xn raised to power fn. So once we have this expression, so in next step write this 1 over n as it is. Now here look at this first term. So here we again have to use this first rule. Log of a power n is equal to n log a. So here we have log x1 power f1, so it will be f1 will be at start, and then log x1. So we can write it as f1 log x1 plus here same rule f2 at start, log x2, and so on. Last term will be fn at start and log of xn. So close the bracket. So once we have this expression, so in the end the last one will be 1 over n as it is. So now here we can see that all these terms are being summed, so with index is different, f1 log x1, and then f2 log x2, and so on, fn log xn. So we can write it in the summation format. So this is summation fi log xi. So I have used I with f and x because these subscripts are changing. So and then here the range of I ranges from 1 to n. So on left hand side we have log of x bar g, the same expression here. So this is our left hand side. So now this is the simplified expression. So in order to find this x bar g, we have to get rid of logarithm on the left hand side. So in order to get rid of this log, we can take anti-log on both sides. So just taking anti-log here left hand side as well as on right hand side. So taking anti-log here on left hand side, this anti-log and log, they will be cancelled. So we will be left with only x bar g, which is this expression, and on right hand side taking anti-log of this full expression, so it means anti-log of this full expression. So this is how this alternative formula is derived. So now here fi, they are the frequencies of each class, and xi's are the midpoints or class marks of each class, and n is equal to summation f, which represents the total frequency. So this is the formula for the finding geometric mean for the ungrouped data. So let us explain this result with the help of an example. So here question is, given the frequency distribution of weights of 60 students, calculate geometric mean. So look at the first column, we have weights in grams, and in the second column we have frequencies or number of students. So as far as this first class is concerned, so it means there are 9 students having weight between 65 from 65 gram to 85 grams. So second frequency is 10, so this means that there are 10 students having weight from 85 to 104 grams, and in the end we have 5 students having weight from 185 grams to 204 grams. Our objective is to calculate geometric mean. So first write the formula of geometric mean and then observe what are the things which we want to calculate from this frequency distribution. So here just by looking at the formula we can see that we need this x, which represents the midpoints or the class marks. So and then we need this f is already given here, so then we have to take log of xi. So then we have to find this product fi with log xi, and then we have to find the summation, and then we will divide it by n and then taking anti-log. So here the first step is to calculate the midpoint or class marks. So construct a new column. The third one, label this column as midpoint or x. So now calculate the midpoint. Remember that the midpoints are calculated by adding the lower limit and the upper limit, and then divide the sum by 2. So just take the average of these two limits, the lower and the upper limits. So here are the midpoints. So 74.5, 94.5, 114.5, and last one is 194.5. So this 74.5 is actually, it is 65 plus 85 whole over 2. So this is how this midpoint is calculated. So okay, once we have the midpoints x, then we can calculate this full function log x. So make a new column and label this as log x, because in order to calculate this geometric mean we need to calculate log x. So take the log of first number and then second and so on. So log of 74.5, you can use calculator or Microsoft Excel to get this number. So log of 74.5 is 1.872156. You can write this number up to 3 decimal places by rounding this number to 3 decimal places. Or in other words, it is 1.872. Just by rounding this, so we can see that this is rounded to 3 digits and it will be 1.872. Okay. So similarly calculate log of each number. So once we have log x in hand, so next step is to calculate this product of f and log x. So fi and log xi. So it means we have to multiply this frequency with log x. So calculate product f and log x, that f log x. So create a new column, label this column as f log x, and then multiply this frequency 9 frequency of the first class with log x corresponding to first class. So 9 into 1.87 2156, we get 16.8494. So similarly multiply this frequency with second one 1.975432, you will get certain other number, and so on. So here is the full calculation. So f log x. So once we have f log x, so once we have this complete expression, then the next step is to take summation fi log xi. It means the sum of all the entries in this column. So calculate summation fi log xi and also calculate n, which is summation f, or we can put subscripts as well. So summation fi, where I ranges from 1 to n. Here 1 to 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So in this case this will be 1 to 7. So sum of 7 frequencies, f1 plus f2 and so on, f7. So here this number 16.8494 plus 19.75432 and so on, this last number 11.44. So add all these numbers, we get this expression. And remember that this is summation f into log x, or you can put subscripts as well if you want. So I is equal to 1 to n. Here n is 7 in our case. N is summation f, which is 60. So but total number of classes are 7. So let me write here 7. So next find summation f, which is sum of all the entries in this frequency column. So 9 plus 10 plus 17 plus 10 plus 5 plus 4 plus 5, you get 60. So this 60 is summation f, which we also call as n. So once we have both numbers 60 and 124, so then calculate the geometric mean. So using this formula, so it is nt log of 1 over n summation fi log xi. So just write nt log as it is, and then summation fi log xi, it is 124 here, 124.247 divided by n. N is same as summation f, which is 60. So just divide this by 60 and then take nt log. So you get 7.93104. And since the unit which is given in question was gram, so don't forget to mention the unit. So always mention the unit which is stated in question. So it means the average weight is 7.93104 grams. So this is how to calculate geometric mean for the grouped data. So next we discuss some of the merits of using geometric mean as a measure of central tendency. So first is, it is based on all the observations. So in the formula of geometric mean, we can see that geometric mean is product of all numbers x1 cross x2 and so on xn, and then taking the nth root. So it means all numbers are being used in the calculation of geometric mean. So we can say that it is based on all the observations. Next one is that it is rigorously defined by a mathematical formula. So we have a proper definite formula for finding the geometric mean. So next merit of geometric mean is that it gives equal weight to all the observations. In the formula of geometric mean, we note that it is x1 cross x2 so on xn, taking nth root. So it means all the observations are given equal weight. And last one is that it is not much affected by sampling variability. So if sample is different, if we change sample from one sample to another sample, then it will not affect the value of geometric mean. So geometric mean is not much affected by sample variability. So suppose you have one sample and you calculated geometric mean, and then we draw another sample from the same population, then the geometric mean will be slightly different from the first calculated geometric mean, but there will be no big variability, no big difference between the geometric mean calculated from sample 1 and the geometric mean calculated from sample 2. But remember that the samples, they all must be drawn from the same population, and they all must represent, they must be representative samples. So it is not much affected by sample variability. So next we discuss some of the demerits of using geometric mean as a measure of central tendency. So the first one is that it is neither easy to calculate nor understand. By the structure of formula, we can see that it is comparatively complicated as compared to finding mode or finding median or finding the mean. So that's why we can say that it is comparatively less easier to calculate or understand. But overall, as we saw that the calculations are comparatively, it's not difficult to understand this formula. So anyway, so next demerit is it vanishes if any of the observations is 0. So since the formula of geometric mean, it involves the product of all observations and then taking the root. So suppose we have n observations, so then geometric mean is the product of n observations and then taking the nth root. So if any of the observations is 0, so then the product will be 0. So because we have to take the product, so if any of the numbers x1 to xn is 0, so then we will get the product 0. So it means if any of the observations is 0, then geometric mean will be 0, or we can say that it vanishes. And next demerit of geometric mean is in case of negative values, it cannot be calculated. So there are two versions of geometric mean. One is just finding the product of numbers and then taking the root, nth root. N is the number of observations. So remember that we cannot find the root of a negative number. So root of negative number is undefined. So first thing. So if you use this formula, so just taking the nth root of the product of numbers, then if any of the numbers is negative, then this root is impossible to calculate because root of negative number is undefined. We can, there are certain methods which we can use to find the root by using the idea of complex numbers or imaginary numbers. So, but usually for negative numbers, the roots, we cannot find the roots. And then if we use the alternative version, the logarithmic form, so remember that log of negative number is also undefined. So log of positive number is defined, we can calculate it, but log of negative number is it does not exist. So that's why in case of negative values we cannot calculate geometric mean. So this is another demerit of using geometric mean as a measure of central tendency. So in case your data has certain negative values or 0 values, so then it will be difficult for calculating geometric mean. In case of 0 values, you will get always the 0. So 0 is not conveying any information. So that is all about the geometric mean. So let us move to next measure of central tendency, which is harmonic mean. So harmonic mean is used in averaging certain types of ratios or certain type of rate of change. So in order to explain this, let us consider a simple example. Suppose a car is running at the rate of 15 km per hour during the first 30 km and then 20 km per hour during the second 30 km and then at 25 km per hour during the third 30 km. So note that in all the three journeys, the distance covered is constant, which is 30 km in each case. In the first case, we have the speed 15 km per hour and the distance covered is 30 km. In the second case, the speed is 20 km per hour and the distance covered is 30 km. And in next case, we have the speed 25 km per hour and distance is 30 km. So the point which is to be noted is that the distance in each case is same. So 30 km, 30 km, 30 km. So distance covered is constant, but the time is changing. So now question is, we are interested in finding the average speed of the car in all three journeys. So in this case, in these types of issues or problems, so we are interested in finding the average rate of change. So harmonic mean is the suitable average in order to calculate the average speed of the car in this scenario. So this is these are certain types of situations in which harmonic mean is usually used. So let us explain it with the help of several examples. Let us discuss the general formula for finding harmonic mean for the ungrouped data. So suppose we have n observations, x1, x2 and so on up to xn, and we are interested in finding harmonic mean of these n observations. So harmonic mean is defined as, or it is the reciprocal of the arithmetic mean of the reciprocal of the values. So at first look, this seems quite complicated definition, but overall, if we go into the detail step by step, we can get the full idea quite easily. So it is reciprocal of the arithmetic mean of the reciprocal of values. So it means, just focus at here, arithmetic mean of the reciprocal of values. So here the values are x1, x2 and xn. So just take the reciprocal of values. So it will be 1 over x1, 1 over x2 and so on, 1 over xn. So now we have the reciprocal of values 1 over x1, 1 over x2 and 1 over x3, so on, 1 over xn. So now arithmetic mean of reciprocal of values. So calculate the arithmetic mean. So arithmetic mean is what? It is sum of reciprocal of values, sum of all these values, 1 over x1 plus 1 over x2 and so on, 1 over xn, and then divide by the number of values, which is n. So this expression, this one, it is what? It is the arithmetic mean of these values, 1 over x1 and 1 over x2 and so on, 1 over xn. Or we can say that it is arithmetic mean of reciprocal of these n values, x1, x2 and so on, xn. And then the harmonic mean is the reciprocal of this arithmetic mean of reciprocal of values. So we denote harmonic mean by x bar h, h for harmonic mean, instead of G, now we are using H. So it is reciprocal of this thing. So this is what it is, the arithmetic mean of reciprocal of values. That is sum of reciprocal of n values x1 to xn and then divide by the number of values. So then we can simplify, we can write this numerator expression in summation format. So we can see that it is 1 over x1, 1 over x2 and so on 1 over xn. So we can write it as 1 over xi, where I ranges from 1 to n, and then divided by whole divided by n, this n as it is, and then reciprocal of this whole expression. So reciprocal mean just shift numerator, replace numerator with denominator. So just take reciprocal. So harmonic mean x bar h will be n divided by summation 1 over xi, where I ranges from 1 to n. So this is the formula of harmonic mean for calculating harmonic mean in case of ungrouped data. So let us explain this formula with the help of one simple example. So let us explain harmonic mean for ungrouped data with the help of an example. Suppose a car is running at the rate of 15 km per hour during the first 30 km, and then at 20 km per hour during the second 30 km, and then at 25 km per hour during the third 30 km. So in this case, the first speed 15 km per hour, and second speed is 20 km per hour, and third is 25 km per hour. And remember that, note that this distance in each case is same, 30 km, 30 km and 30 km. So only the speed is changing or varying. So we can say that x1 is 15 km per hour, x2 is 20 km per hour, and x3 is 25 km per hour. So we are interested in calculating harmonic mean. So harmonic mean is h bar x bar h, which is n over summation 1 over xi, where I ranges from 1 to n. So in this case we have three values of x, x1, x2, x3. So in this case this n will be 3. So just write 3 here, n is 3, and then 1 over x1 plus 1 over x2 plus 1 over x3. So 1 over x1 is 15, 1 over x2 is 1 over 20, so just write here 20, and then 1 over x3 is 1 over 25. Actually this order doesn't matter whether you write 1 over 20 in the first place and 1 over 15 in the second place. Why? Because the sum of two numbers, 2 plus 3, it is 5, 2 plus 3, it is 5, and if we change the order, 3 plus 2, it is also 5. So this is same as this. So this is actually called the commutative property of addition. So commutative means if we change the position, then the result remains the same. So it means the numbers commute. So here anyway, so we have 1 over 20 here, second number, and 1 over 25. So 1 divided by 15, then 1 divided by 20, then 1 divided by 25. So just calculate these numbers, add them. So adding them we get 0.15667. So 3 numerator number as it is, then divide this 3 by the 0.15667. So we get 19.15, and since the unit which is used throughout is kilometer per hour, so we write it as kilometer per hour. So it means the average speed in all three journeys of the car is 19.15 kilometer per hour. So this is how we can calculate harmonic mean for the ungrouped data. We can also calculate harmonic mean of the same data by constructing a simple table. So in order to calculate harmonic mean, so just construct one table. So label the first column as x and write here its values. So 15, x1, 20, and then 25. And then here, since in our formula we need summation 1 over xi, so it means construct one column here which is 1 over x. So and calculate here 1 over 15, write the answer here, then 1 over 20, write the answer here, then 1 over 25. You can calculate these numbers with the help of calculator quite easily. So once we have all these numbers, we can calculate summation 1 over x. So sum of this number, this. So sum of all the three is written here, 1 over 15, 1 over 20, 1 over 25. So this sum is calculated to be 0.15667. So it is 0.15667. So once we have summation 1 over x in hand, we can calculate this result. So by using this formula, so summation 1 over xi, it is 0.15667, and n in this case is 1, 2, and 3 number of observations. So just dividing, you will get the same result. So kilometer per hour. So this is how we can calculate harmonic mean for ungrouped data. Now let us discuss the examples, the formula for finding harmonic mean for grouped data. So general formula for calculating harmonic mean for grouped data is, it is harmonic mean equals x bar h is reciprocal of f1 1 over x1 plus f2 1 over x2 and so on, plus fn 1 over xn, whole divided by n. So we can write here fi's are the frequencies of each class. Since we are dealing with grouped data, so we will have the frequencies and class limits. So fi's, they are the frequencies, and xi's are the midpoints or class marks of each class. So f1 1 over x1, it means we have to multiply the first frequency with the reciprocal of first midterm. So these calculations these calculations are for the first class, and then for the second class in the group data, f2 is the frequency of second class and x2 is the corresponding midpoint or class mark. And remember that midpoint is calculated by adding the lower and upper class limits and then dividing this sum by 2. So just add lower and upper class limit, divide by 2, you will get the midterm point or class mark. So similarly, the last class frequency fn and the last class midpoint, which is xn. So fn into 1 over xn, and then whole divided by n. This n is same as summation f or total frequency. So you can replace here this n by summation f as well. So instead of writing n here, we can also write summation f here, summation fi, or we can also write it here as f1 plus f2 so on fn. So there are two ways. So either write n and define n here, that n is summation f, and what is summation f? It is f1 plus f2 plus so on fn. So just write here f1 f plus f2 plus so on plus fn, or you can simply write n here and then define that n is summation f. So in next step we can write this formula by using the summation notation. So in this case we can see that we have f1 1 over x1 then f2 1 over x2, and fn 1 over xn. So all terms are being they are added together, being added, and the only difference is that their subscripts are different, f1 x1, then f2 x2, and fn xn. So we can write in summation notation as summation fi 1 over xi, where I ranges from 1 to n, and whole over this n as it is our summation f. So we have to take reciprocal of this thing, so it means it will be n divided by this. So just shifting or taking reciprocal. So n will occur in the numerator, and in denominator we will have summation fi 1 over xi, where I ranges from 1 to n. So I have just replaced this n by the total frequency. Why? Because n is summation fi, where I ranges from 1 to n, because this formula is usually used. So notation summation f is usually used for the grouped data. So harmonic mean is summation fi, where I ranges from 1 to n, whole divided by summation fi into 1 over xi, where I ranges from 1 to n. Or we can write this in a more clear form as summation fi divided by summation fi 1 over xi. So you can omit the range of this summation, that range of I, that this summation is taking from, that I ranges from 1 to n, or sum is being taken from 1 to n. So, or even we can remove this subscript I as well, or we can write it as, or this is the simplest, or you can say the shortest form, summation f into 1 over x, or we can also write it as summation f as it is, summation f over x. So usually this form is preferable, or this is preferred. So this is the formula for calculating harmonic mean for grouped data. So let us explain this with the help of one simple example. So example, given the frequency distribution of weights of 60 students, calculate harmonic mean of this data. Remember that this is the same data which we used in order to calculate geometric mean in previous geometric mean for the grouped data. So in first column we have the weights in grams, and in second column we have the corresponding frequencies. So we are interested in finding the harmonic mean. So note that harmonic mean in case of grouped data is, it is summation f whole divided by summation f into 1 over x. Or we can put subscripts as well. So I ranges from 1 to n, so fi xi, where I ranges from 1 to n. Or we can also write it as n over summation f into 1 over x, where n is same as summation fi, where I ranges from 1 to n. So it means here is the formula for finding harmonic mean. So first we need to calculate x, which is the midpoint, and f is already given. Then we will take reciprocal of this x, 1 over x, then we have to multiply with f, and then taking the sum. So first we calculate the midpoint, all class mark. So construct a new column and then take the midpoint. So just add the class limits and divide by 2, divide the sum by 2, 74.5, and so on. So once we have the midpoints, next step is to calculate this product fi. Next step is to calculate the reciprocal of midpoints, 1 over xi. So it means 74.5 is first midpoint. So 1 over xi, construct new column, and the first entry will be 1 over 74.5. So it is 0.013423. Similarly, this will be here we will have 1 over 94.5. We can simplify it to get 0.010582, and so on. So once we have 1 over x in hand, so next step is to multiply this frequency with 1 over xi. So just multiply fi, which is located here, the second column, with 1 over x. So calculate product. So f into 1 over x. So multiply this frequency with 1 over x. So first frequency is 9 and 1 over x is 0.013423. So just multiply these two numbers and here is the result, 0.120805. Similarly, in this case, multiply this frequency with 1 over x, you will get certain other number and so on. So here is the product. So f into 1 over xi. So last one is 5 multiplied by 0.005141, we get this. So once we have this product, next step is to find summation fi xi. So it means next step is to add up all these numbers. So calculate summation fi and summation fi 1 over xi. So this is summation fi into 1 over xi and this is summation fi or summation f. And then this is 60 and summation fi 1 over xi is 0.530439. So once we have these two numbers, so just plug in this formula, so we can calculate harmonic mean. So calculate harmonic mean. Instead of summation fi, write 60 here. Instead of summation fi 1 over xi, write 0.530439 in the denominator. Dividing these two numbers, we get 113.1139 grams, because gram is the unit which is provided in the question. So average weight is 113.1139 grams, or harmonic mean in the case of this grouped data is 113.1139 grams. So this is how to calculate harmonic mean for the grouped data. Next we discuss some of the merits of using harmonic mean as a measure of central tendency. So first merit is that it is rigorously defined by a mathematical formula. So we have a well-defined mathematical formula for calculating harmonic mean, both in case of ungrouped data as well as in case of grouped data. Next is that it is based on all observations. So in the calculation of harmonic mean, so we can see that it is n divided by summation 1 over x in case of grouped data. So it means we have to take reciprocal of all the values and then we have to take the sum. So once we have this sum, so divide the number of observation n divided by this sum, summation 1 over xi. So it means it involves all the observations. So this is another merit of harmonic mean. Next is it is amenable to mathematical to further mathematical treatment. So we can extend this formula, we can do certain type of additional mathematical operations on the formula of harmonic mean. And last one is it is not much affected by sampling variability. So next we discuss some of the demerits of using harmonic mean as a measure of central tendency. So first is it is neither easy to calculate nor understand. So the structure of formula is quite complicated. It is reciprocal of the arithmetic mean of reciprocal of values. So from this definition, it seems quite complicated or mixed. But overall, if we go into the details and look each and everything in detail, we can get the clear idea. Next demerit is that it cannot be calculated in any of the if any of the observations is 0. Note that the formula of harmonic mean, it involves summation 1 over xi. Actually it is x bar h, it is n over summation 1 over xi. So if any of the observation is 0, so suppose we have first observation as 0. So since we need to calculate the reciprocal of this observation, so it is 1 over 0. So this 1 over 0, it is a undefined number. So it does not exist, or it is actually called infinity. So it means this formula is we cannot calculate this sum if any of the observations is 0. So this is a drawback of harmonic mean, that if we have certain type of situations in which we are getting some of the entries or any one of the entries is 0, then this formula will be undefined, or it cannot be calculated. The third demerit is that it gives too much weightage to the smaller observations. So suppose we have this observation 0.00001. So since in order to calculate harmonic mean, we need to take the reciprocal of this value. So if observation is, suppose x1 is 0.4 times 0 and then 1. So in order to apply this formula, we need to calculate x1. So it is 0.4 times 0 then 1. So from this we can see that it is this big number. So it means actual observation is very small, which is here, but if we take the reciprocal of this very small observation, we get a very huge number. So in the summation, this will add a very heavy weightage of these observations. So this is another drawback of this harmonic mean. So but if all the observations are of same size, or the gap between observations it is not very different or too far, just like we have observations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so we can say that all observations are overall they look like same. So in these types of situations we can apply harmonic mean. So if any of the observations is very small, then harmonic mean will give very high weightage to this smaller observation. So this is another demerit of using harmonic mean in these types of situations or in these types of data. So let us take review of what we have discussed in today's session. So in today's session we discussed measures of central tendency, and we discussed the geometric mean, how to calculate geometric mean for ungrouped data as well as for grouped data with the help of an example, and then we discussed the merits and demerits of using geometric mean as a measure of central tendency. And then we have discussed the harmonic mean for grouped data as well as for ungrouped data, and we have also discussed the merits and demerits of using harmonic mean as a measure of central tendency. In the next lecture we will discuss the empirical relations among mean, median and mode. Remember that mean, median and mode, these are the most commonly used measures of central tendency. So we will study the empirical relationship among these three measures of central tendencies, and then we will also discuss the percentiles, the quartiles and deciles. Actually we can divide the data into certain subparts. So if we can divide one given data set into 100 equal parts, then each part is called a percentile. So if we can divide the data into 4 equal parts, then each part is called 1/4 of the data or quartiles. So similarly, if we can divide the data into 10 equal parts, then each part is called the decile. So these percentile, quartiles and deciles, they are called quantiles. So we will study these concepts in detail in the next lecture. So till then, Allah Hafiz.